how's it going? I hope you're having a beautiful day, and if you can't already tell by the title of this video, we're gonna have a little story time. So if you haven't checked my Q&A out, please go check it out, because if you don't already know, I am a bartender. So for this story time, I'm going to tell you the terrifying moment I served a minor and got in trouble for it. So the way our job works at the local ballpark downtown is the employees walk in, scan our hand, sign a little piece of paper, and we usually get told where we are stationed that night. So where I was stationed, it usually can either go really good or really bad. Now, when my coworkers showed up, I was like, okay, there's two of us here. So they are expecting a really busy night because this one usually doesn't do that great. An important part of the story is there's a designated smoking area adjacent from our portable, and you have to kind of go around the building to smoke. As the night went on, we got really busy, had a nice little rush there for a while, and this kid walks up to the counter. Now I think my coworker was busy with someone else, or maybe I just took over this person, and I instantly thought, this guy kind of looks really young. Now if you know me, I probably only look like I'm 18 and I'm really 23 years old. So I didn't want to just judge straight off from his looks, because I was like, maybe he looks good for his age. So of course I asked for his ID, because in the state of Tennessee, no matter how old you are, no matter who you are, no matter what you look like, you have to ask for their ID every time they come up to the counter, every time they order a beer. So I get his ID, and first thing I notice is, one, it's out of state, and two, it's orange. So me personally, I don't study the ID book every single year, every single night. I only really know of Tennessee's specific laws on the RIDs. So the 2 to 3 things I knew that could prove whether he was valid or not was, one, his birth date. I checked it. It was legit. I think he was either 21, 22, 23 years old. And so next I checked his expiration date, because at least here in Tennessee, if your license is expired, it kind of technically means you don't have a license. So I checked it, it was valid, so I was like, okay, well, it's not expired. And third, I checked his picture. It looked just like him, young, whatever. It kind of looked like he took it a couple days ago, but who am I? And I also realized that it was hard plastic, like every ID, so I was like, okay, there's no indication this license is fake, so I really couldn't do anything. Now, if you really question it, you are supposed to ask indicators that may not change on a license, such as your eye color, your middle initial, last name maybe, I don't know, or the address, like a number, street name, that kind of thing. But I just didn't think anything of it. So I asked for his order, got his beer, opened it for him, and then told him the total. So he paid in cash. Now the bad thing about the fact that he paid in cash is I didn't have a debit or credit card to compare a name to. Granted, he could have gave me somebody else's card, a parent's card, whatever, but at least that way I could have asked whose name it could have been on, because I would think you would know whose credit card it is. But he didn't, so I gave him his change if he had any, and he went on with his way. Given that I thought this situation was a little suspicious, I kind of watched him because we weren't too busy at that moment, and I noticed he walked to 2 or 3 of his buddies, and they kind of chuckled, laughed, whatever, looked at the beer. Usual behavior of like, oh my god, like we did it kind of thing. But I was like, well, one, maybe it's his first time getting his own beer, maybe he's excited, maybe he's the only one legal in the group. And 3, honestly, I thought, well, maybe he bought it to give to a friend who isn't legal. But I'm not an officer. It wasn't my judgment to make. It wasn't my action to catch him in. I was just a bartender who saw that he had a valid license and gave him a beer. because again, since it was out of state, I wasn't really that sure what indicators of a fake license was. So the night went on, we got busy again, and then eventually it was the end of the night, you know, towards the end of the 7th inning. So that's when we kind of start cleaning up, doing inventory, just that way when our shift is over, we'll be done, we can get out of there quick and easy. When we were closing, you know, cleaning up, counting the drawer, doing the inventory, my supervisor came up. That wasn't unusual, but then I heard on the radio, hey, you know, supervisor, can you ask Anna to meet me, the boss, I won't say his name for privacy reasons, in my office. And so my supervisor was like, hey, your boss wants to talk to you. So I thought that was a little weird, but I didn't know and didn't think that I was in trouble, so I was like, okay. So I don't remember if me or her done the money, but either way, I walked to the office to drop that off or not, and met my boss in my boss's office. He can either be like your best friend or the most stern boss ever. So when he looked at me, he said, do you know you served a minor tonight? So I kind of thought he was joking, and I chuckled and I was like, no. He's like, yeah, you served a minor tonight and you're going to be in big trouble, somewhere along those lines. And I was just like, whoa, what just happened? What did I get myself into? Because in these situations, it can be a liability to the ballpark, to the company we work under, to the state of Tennessee and its laws. So my boss was on the radio with the officer because this officer caught the boy passing around his beard to his 2 or 3 buddies. And when confronted, the officer said, can I see your ID? Well, this kid gave the officer his valid Tennessee license that clearly stated he was, I think, 16 or 18 years old. And when asked about it, how'd he got that beer, he was like, oh, she knew I was under 21 or a minor and she still served me a beer. So my boss usually reviews the videotapes, obviously to find out who served them and to talk to me, and realized it was me. So both the officer and my boss clearly had these two facts together and realized, yep, she served a minor. So at that point, they were determining what to do with me. Am I going to get fired? Am I going to get arrested? Am I going to be on probation and not work for a couple weeks? Who knows? And so at this point, my boss wanted the kid to like meet up, so whether or not I recognize who it is and if it's the same person. And then it clicked into my head and I was like, oh, his license was orange. And my boss was like, orange? I was like, yeah, it was out of state. And so it clicked that he probably showed me a different ID. So my boss was like, hey, that ID was out of state. She says he gave her an out of state license. And so the officer was like, well, he's leaving or he's gone or something. And my boss is just like frantic. And so I don't know if they caught him before he left or already was in the midst of talking to him. But they then found out that he in fact had this orange out-of-state license that was fake. And so these 24 hours go by because, I mean, they had to figure out what was going on. And I was worried I was going to get fired or on probation. I didn't think I was going to get arrested at this point, knowing that it was in fact a potential fake ID situation. And so my boss was talking to my father and said, yeah, I saw the ID and I thought it was legit, you know, hard plastic, you know, not see-through, had valid dates on it, all this stuff. And he said, I wouldn't have known it was a fake ID. So at this point, I learned that I wasn't going to get fired, and I'm pretty sure I wasn't in trouble. But he did give me a warning, you know, saying if this happens again, I probably will get fired. because they figured out that these kids were ordering and buying these real IDs. I don't know how they could do it, but they ordered these real IDs from China or Japan, and obviously testing it out in cities or ballparks or, you know, anywhere they can, and get beer, liquor from all these stores and places. And it was just so mind-blowing how advanced technology got. But this was legit. Like, I could not have been able to tell that it was a fake, especially if it's out of state, not knowing the indicators of a fake license. So yeah, I wasn't fired. I still have my job. I just completed my 2nd year and hopefully have another year coming. But it was so scary to think that either one, I could lose and be fired from my first real job, or even potentially fined or arrested. So it was definitely a scary moment. And from that point on, in the meetings, he was just like, you know, make sure all these licenses are real, double check, triple check. You know, there's kids going around with fake license from China, and we just need to keep a lookout. Luckily it subsided. It seemed like that there was only a few going around and it was all solved and taken care of. But it was definitely a situation I will never forget, because from that point on I was terrified that I was going to serve another minor. And even the next shift, the next night, I was stationed at that same portable, and I told whoever I was working with, like, you are going to take care of the IDs, I'm going to take care of the serving and register. And it just ran smoothly, and I definitely made sure that they were valid. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up. I am excited to say that I have some ideas and some good videos coming for you guys, and I hope you get to stick around to see those. But until then, much love, much encouragement. I love you guys. See you next time. Bye.